Okay, everybody, I am back from my business/birthday trip to Los Angeles. The exciting news is I am moving back to Los Angeles. I can't wait to tell you guys how happy I am about this. I'll also tell you why I left Los Angeles, stayed in Florida for an entire pandemic, and why I'm going back. All right, I'll be right back. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am to be moving back to Los Angeles. I knew when I left it that there was a strong possibility I was going back. Let me tell you why I left. I have never lived in a metropolitan type of environment. I was raised in the suburbs. I've pretty much lived in suburbs, somewhat in towns and cities. If you're familiar with Los Angeles, it's humongous, but it's spread out and it's made up of a bunch of little neighborhoods. Likewise, when you live in a big town, you get neighborhoods that have their own flavor. Koreatown and the West Side and the East Side and things like that. I'm sure every town must have this. The last location I lived in Los Angeles was right downtown amongst all the sky rises, in a tall building amongst tall buildings. It was noisy. I was on a short block, so I had a light at each end of my actual apartment building. I must have been on a road with a fire station because at least 12 times a day I heard sirens. I also lived in a historic building, which means they're not allowed to replace the windows. So I had 1940s paper thin, might as well not even have glass type of windows. I could hear everything downstairs. The sirens were so loud that you couldn't talk on the phone, you couldn't watch TV. Everything had to stop 7 to 12 times a day as they went driving by. I had also, right before this, lived in a very precarious environment, turned out to be illegal, with a slumlord, you name it. I was then accosted by the manager of the property, which caused me to have some PTSD. So now whenever I hear loud noises, I get a nervous, anxious reaction. Those fire trucks were not doing me any favors. Additionally, my relationship with my significant other just was not heading in the right direction. We needed a break from each other. Basically, I was moving out of California for a complete reset. Just a break. I need someplace quiet. I want to be able to have a house that I can paint instead of apartments that I'm not allowed to do anything to. I've been waiting a couple of years to get myself a couple of Doberman service dogs / protection dogs because of the accostement and the anxiety. Those dogs are big dogs, so they should have a yard. I was also looking to adopt a couple of teenagers, boys probably, out of foster care. So I wanted to live in a neighborhood where everybody's kind of the same and you go to the same school, just like what I grew up with. So I figured I'm going to move back to Florida. I previously lived in Cape Coral. I know they have 400 miles of canals. I can get a house, look out on the water. It'll be relaxing. There will be no fire engines. I can have a dog. I will have a fenced-in yard. I'll have an extra bedroom in order to adopt some teenagers. The school system's decent. I had it all planned out. Oh, and I really wanted to build a sense of community. They have a new residence club there that I used to be a board member of, so I knew I could instantly move to Florida, plug in to a group of new residents, instantly have 20 to 30 friends whom you can then develop friendships with. They have different activities, like you can put out a sheet to do mahjong, or you can go to somebody's barbecue, or antique car shows. There were just so many things as part of the new residence club in the past that I knew would be instant opportunities to plug in. Leaving LA was extremely sad for me. Even as I was packing up, as I'm driving to the airport, I just felt sad because I love LA. I just needed a break. I was overwhelmed with noises and a stagnating relationship. Let's just move someplace quiet, low cost of living, and see how it goes. If it works out great, then I guess I'm staying. If I don't like it, I can always come back. There's a bunny in my front yard. I'm gonna film it for you guys. Oh, I can't, sorry. Approximately 5 days after I landed in Florida, the entire world shut down with COVID. There was nowhere to go, no one to go with, no new residence club, no restaurants are open, no nothing. Everyone went in lockdown, and thus we stayed there for a year and a half. Thus, I did not make any friends. Thus, I did not play any mahjong. Thus, I did not go to a barbecue or an antique car show or any of the things. Adopting the teenagers from foster care because so many agencies were closed down, they weren't responding. The whole process ended up taking like almost a year. And then they just complicated it. It turns out the state of Florida has pawned off this portion of their child care onto a third party who's doing a terrible job, in my opinion. So that didn't come to fruition. My own business was dealing in the court systems, which were all shut down because of COVID. So I had no income coming in. Thus, I did not put a pool in my house. And I did not do the renovings to make it ADA compliant. Nothing was going to plan. After 10 and a half months, my friend suggested I start this business. Fast forward for 6 months of prepping and getting myself going on this YouTube podcast merchandise thing. And I have been locked up in my house working. Even though everybody is in lockdown, I'm now like dead focused and working 12 to 14 hour days, figuring out how to launch a business. It turns out that now I'm working in the biz, doing filming, editing, entertainment. I know a ton of people in LA who can help me with my business. I know nobody in Florida. Furthermore, there's no disabled community in Florida. I mean, aside from the whole state as a bunch of elderly people, there's no disabled community. In Los Angeles, I was so integrated into my community with a lot of different disabled people. And now that I'm working in this type of business, I really want to be close to my community. It turns out I'm not going to be adopting kids in the near future. It turns out also that absence does make the heart grow fonder, and being apart from one another, the relationship is heading in a more positive direction. My birthday trip / business trip went shockingly well for the two of us, so who knows? We can't really find out because we are 2,500 miles apart. Another reason to go back. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a reason. It's just not the first one I was thinking of. One of the things that cemented my certainty I was moving back is landing in LA, and the weather is gorgeous. Oh, even the landscape looked different. Looking around after I had landed, driving in the 405 freeway ditch, I was looking up at buildings that looked familiar. There were residential, commercial, retail, industrial, and car shops, and food shops, and there's just stuff everywhere you look. I'm from Michigan, so they're called mountains, but in California they're called the hills. There's the hills in the background. There's stuff to look at. The cars look different. Traffic looks different. The city planning, like buildings are closer to the corners and you can see storefronts. In Florida, I live in a place that's flat and sparse. There's probably more empty residential and commercial plots than there are full. I don't even think the city is half full. Businesses are built way far away from the road, and not always do they put a sign near the road so that you know to get over in this lane because your place is coming. It's just poorly laid out. There's no landscape. I mean, the city is starting to put things in the medians, but even then, they're not planting native plants that don't need watering. In Los Angeles, it's built to be outdoors because it's almost year-round outdoor living. So every restaurant has an entire outside area, even before COVID, where they would put decorative lights or heat lamps or awnings to protect from the sun. They're just built to be enjoyed outdoors. So you have to know, while I was there, I spent as much time as possible outdoors just looking around, looking at traffic and looking at buildings and having cool breeze and sunshine and sipping my tea in front of a Starbucks or a coffee bean. Just wonderful. People watching. None of that happens in Florida. In Florida, you're lucky if you get a picnic table in somebody's parking lot spot with no awning, no decorations, nothing. So the plan is, I'm heading back to LA. That's it. Florida didn't work out. I'm going to sell my house, pack up my belongings again, travel all the way across the country again, and settle in for real, like for permanent this time. Every year for the last however many years, I have attended an important big convention for disability because I was working in ADA compliance and I needed to be involved in the business of disability. And now that my business is all advocacy and disability, I need to be even more involved with the specific people. The convention is every year in like end of January to the middle of February. I attended it February of 2020, and then I moved later. There wasn't one in 21 because there's no conventions because nobody's leaving their houses. I'm guessing because the Los Angeles convention is so huge, they ended up moving it to the first in-person convention Halloween weekend of 2021. I can still attend this year's convention. I just need to plan my trip for Halloween weekend. So the plan is I will go to this convention, then come back. And then I thought perhaps around the holidays, like Christmas, New Year, go back again, do some interviews, maybe scout out some future locations. I need a place that has enough space for my work studio. So there'll be a lot of research going into where I'm going to go next. And then I won't go back again until I move. For now, the plan is that I will move sometime before hurricane season of 2022. Hurricane season starts in June. I'd like to be out by May at the latest, which means I need to start hiring a moving truck and packers and automobile transport for my wheelchair van. I have to have all that stuff arranged by March of next year. Right around New Year's and on, I'm going to be hardcore planning a move. I'm so excited to be going back. It's going to be an adventure because life with me is always an adventure. So I'm going to bring you guys along on this adventure so you know what it's like to have a disability and move across the country. Yay. I'm looking forward to that part of it, not. Until then, I am going to joyously celebrate that I have the slightest clue of what a bit of my future holds. Living in Florida, I had no idea. Am I going to stay here? Am I not going to stay here? How long is it going to be until prices come down and I can get some work done on my house? And will I ever find a partner here if the one in California doesn't work out? And how will I ever make friends? And there was so much uncertainty about Florida that there's a part of me that really feels settled in knowing that I'm going back to LA. Between making a decision and enacting that decision, there's a whole lot of chaos that's about to happen. So buckle up. We're going to go on this adventure together. See you next time. Bye.